team. If we look at the aspects of what human resource management is all about, as defined by the PMBOK guide, the first step is human resource planning. Understanding what the human resources are required for your project, what level of skills, how many of each skill level, and when you are requiring each of the human resources to join your project and to leave your project. The next step is working with your human resource department to actually obtain the people that you need to deliver your project as per your project plan. And then the actual human resource management, where you develop the project team, you provide the training, you provide the support necessary to ensure they're full, effective, productive members of your project team, and the managing of the project team to ensure the conflicts, to ensure that the team performs effectively on your project. Before we get into the actual processes defined for project management, I want to take a moment and steal from a well-known literary phrase, or perhaps destroy a well-known literary phrase. And that's, to thine own self be true. As a project manager, it's your responsibility to be the human resource manager for your project. You need to be the coach, the mentor, the conflict resolution, the motivator. You need to ensure that you're effectively interacting with the team to ensure the team performs effectively. That may be a challenge for you depending on your own personality type. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Are you a motivator? A thinker? A director? What is your personality type? And I have deliberately mixed and matched the metaphors from the various human resource or human profiling techniques available in the marketplace today. But you need to review and understand what you are. Are you an introvert or an extrovert, to use the most classic extremes? How can you behave effectively as an introvert or an extrovert? How can you interact with the team? You're going to have a very different management style if you're an introvert versus an extrovert. And you need to think back to what we just discussed in terms of the hard skills and the soft skills. If you're an introvert, you get your power from within. You're probably going to be extremely comfortable and extremely strong in the hard skills area, the time management, the cost management, the risk management, the quality management. And you're probably going to be challenged to go out and meet with the team, to work with the team in some of the soft skills areas, where it's going to be just the opposite if you're the extrovert. You need to find some formula of a mix and match of the hard skills versus the soft skills that's going to allow you to be effective as a project manager. What is the right mix of hard skills versus soft skills? Is it 50-50, 60-40, 40-60, 70-30, 30-70? There is no right answer. The right answer is you need to know where you are on that spectrum, and you need to work within those confines and become an effective project manager. I've worked in my career with two very effective project managers. One would probably be a 10-90 of hard skills versus soft skills. The other would be a 90-10. Now, these are extremes, and I'm not suggesting that you should strive to be a 10-90 or a 90-10, but if that's what you are, I have experience, I have seen effective project managers where that works. The 90-10, an individual I worked with, she was a very effective project manager. She was extremely, extremely confident in terms of the hard skills. She was absolutely impeccable in terms of her schedule and her performance to schedule and her budget adherence. She was absolutely, if I can use a term, a tyrant in terms of the soft skills. She drove her team. She was, I don't want to say abusive to her team, but she really drove the team and expected 150% from the team members at all points in time. You may instantly think, well, why would anyone want to work on a team with her? The fact is, working on her team, you typically were always involved within a successful project. Projects managed by this individual were successful more times than not, got lots of accolades, And let's face it, everyone likes to be involved with success. It looks good on the resume. It feels good in the conscious. Therefore, people would gravitate to her project, realizing that they were going to be on a successful project and liked the feeling of being successful. The other factor she had in her favor in terms of her lack of lack of soft skills, was she herself was 200% harder on herself than on any of her team members. She was at her desk first thing in the morning before any of the team members arrived, and she was still at her desk last thing at night when the last team member left. And she wasn't at her desk twiddling her thumbs playing computer solitaire. She was at her desk working hard on project success factors. She drove herself harder than she drove any of the team members. The team members recognized that her lack of soft skills, her lack of team skills, were not directed at them personally, were simply her style of management, and could accept that, recognizing that they were going to be on a successful project. That's one extreme. The other extreme is an individual I worked with who was just the opposite, was an absolute people person. Nothing made this gentleman happier than being out working with the team, resolving conflicts, motivating the team, meeting the team, doing the same with the business. Was an absolute people person and was an absolute disaster on the hard skills. Couldn't create a budget if his life depended on it. Really didn't truly appreciate what a project schedule was, but did a great job on the soft skills. What this individual did, he recognized he was a disaster on the hard skills and always ensured he had a second in command, a lieutenant, who looked after the hard skills, looked after the schedule, looked after the budget for him. So again, there can be extremes, the 90-10, and maybe some of these individuals were actually 0-100, who found a way that they could be successful as a project manager, no matter what the personality type, introvert, extrovert, motivator, thinker, director, etc. You need to understand where you fit on the hard and soft skills spectrum. You need to understand where your strengths are, where you feel more comfortable, to thine own self be true, and develop a style. And an introvert can be an absolutely effective project manager. An extrovert can be absolutely an effective project manager. You just have to know your own skills, know what your comfort zone is, to thine own self be true, and develop a system, develop a support structure that allows you to deliver all of the components for human resource management we're going to discuss in this nugget, and that will allow you to be an effective project manager. The first step to human resource management is developing your human resource plan, understanding who is required, what skill levels, how many, and the time frames that you need specific individuals on your project to successfully deliver your project. It's important that you develop a project organization chart, that people know who are reporting to whom, that people know what their roles and responsibilities are, that they understand the boundaries within which they need to work on the project, and then finally, you need to develop a staffing plan that you will present to your human resources department to ensure that the right people with the right skills are available to work on your project at the right time. You need to develop a project organization chart for your project. You need to identify who is the prime responsibility for the project. That will be you yourself, the project manager. You need to understand and define who your direct reports are. So here we have 2 team leaders who are reporting directly to you. And then within the project itself, you have a number of sub-teams where the members of each sub-team are reporting through to the team leaders who report through to you. As simple as a project organization chart may be, or possibly as obvious as a project organization chart may be, it's important that you have a project organization chart so that as your project grows in size, as team members leave the project and are replaced by new team members, people understand what their reporting relationships are, what their interaction with other team members are, allows them to work more effectively in the project. Another key aspect to a project organization chart is when you compare that to the organization chart, you understand what the roles and responsibilities are between their project responsibilities and their organizational responsibilities. So if you assume this team member here has been assigned to your project from a business area, and this team member is also reporting into this divisional manager and is available to your project 50% of the time, you begin to understand what the various conflicts, what the various extra demands on this team member are going to be, because they have 50% of their time reporting to your project through this team leader, and the other 50% of their time they're reporting to a divisional manager responsible for ongoing operations in the organization. Where a different team member, let's pick this one, is reporting to a different divisional manager, is assigned to your project 100% of the time, so you may not have the same conflicts between ongoing day-to-day operations of, well, should I be working on my project at this minute, or should I be working on my regular assigned duties for this minute? But still, this team member, when the project is done, is going to be going back into the business organization and will reporting be back into this divisional manager. Therefore, they're going to be concerned about career aspirations. They're going to be concerned about career training. They're going to be concerned about, is there going to be a place for me back in my home division when this project is done? So you need the project organization chart to understand the roles and responsibilities within your project, and you also need the project organization chart and its relationship back to the company's organization chart so that you can understand the conflicts on various team members, if they're part-time on your project, as well as the ongoing career conflicts that a full-time assignment to a project may have when the project is done and that team member goes back into their home division within the organization. Once you have your project organization chart created, the next step is to define the roles and responsibility for the team members. You need to define your roles and responsibilities. What do you as the project manager do? What are your roles and responsibilities? What project components are you responsible for? Who reports to you, etc. You also need to define the roles and responsibilities for the team. What do individual team members do? What are their reporting responsibilities? What are your expectations on them in terms of performance management, status reporting, quality management, and so on through the delivery of the project? Often when project managers develop roles and responsibilities for the project, they focus on the project manager and the team and ignore this critical middle component to my roles and responsibilities. You also need to understand and define the roles and responsibilities for the various stakeholders. Who in the organization have empowerment, who in the organization care, who in the organization can affect positively or negatively your project's performance, your project's outcome. You need to define what your expectations for these various stakeholders are going to be and how they can most effectively interact with your project team. The same goes for senior management. Senior management have the power to enforce, and I deliberately use the word enforce. Senior management have the power to enforce specific decisions on the project. If during routine project delivery you can't effect a decision, you can't reach consensus on a problem, you need to be able to elevate that problem to senior management so that senior management can rule, can dictate a resolution to the problem. You need to identify and define the roles and responsibilities for your sponsor, for your acceptor. You are the person who is going to sign off the final project deliverables. You need to ensure that they understand the responsibilities they have on the project, that they will be accepting the project on behalf of the organization, and that they absolutely have specific roles and responsibilities to ensure successful project delivery, as well as you need to define the roles and responsibilities for any functional managers that you need to interact with, that you need to gather information from, that you need to define requirements with, that you need to confirm functionality with. You need to ensure that you have a very rich set of roles and responsibilities defined for your project so that everyone, not just the traditional project manager and not just the team, are aware that they are involved in your project, that they are critical to your project's success. A technique that I've found very effective to define and make very visible these roles and responsibilities is an expanded organization chart. So if we take the organization chart that we drew just a moment ago, where we had the PM and the team underneath, the team leader and the team leader, we start to expand that. We draw a line sideways and we put the acceptor. the acceptor sponsors sideways on our organization chart. And then we start to draw our organization chart upwards, where we start to draw management. And we start to draw functional managers. And then we add in senior management. And we add in the business VPs. So we have actually put into a graphical form our overall project organization chart. Much more than the traditional project organization chart. We have the project manager and the team leader and potentially the acceptor and the acceptors team. We have expanded our organization chart to include the richer set of roles and responsibilities. And we may start to create subsets of this. So we take a subset of this and we say these people are the project steering committee. And the steering committee may also include other stakeholders. So by making very visible the roles and responsibilities of the expanded project team, you are alerting everyone in the organization up front during project initiation, doing your human resource planning that says, hey, you are part of my project team. Senior management, you are part of my project team, and my roles and expectations on you are, you will receive a regular status report, probably monthly. In this monthly status report, I will alert you to how the project is doing at a very high level, and I'll alert you to any ongoing problems and concerns the project may have, so that if required, I can escalate problems to you, and then you have the information you need at hand to make the ruling, to make the decision that I need to move my project forward. So ensure that you're providing an expanded set of roles and responsibilities for your project team, that you're alerting senior management that they are part of your project, and that you're alerting senior management they will be receiving project status reports, and they will be expected to participate in steering committee meetings, and they will be expected to be available to resolve project problems that you, the project sponsor, cannot resolve. The final step in human resource planning is to develop the actual staffing plan that you will pass on to the human resources department, that you will work with human resources to ensure you're getting the people you need for your project. And the staffing plan, simply put, defines who you need, what their skills are, when you need them, how many you're going to need. I need 3 skilled analysts. And how long you're going to need them for. I need them for 3 of them or 2 of them for 6 months, and I need 1 for 9 months, or whatever the case is going to be. So essentially you're taking all of the information that you've developed thus far in your human resource planning, and you're producing a detailed staffing plan that you will then pass on to the human resources department to get the staff that you need for the project. You may want to consider a transition plan. If this is a long project, if your project is going to go over 2 or 3 years, team members may get stagnant if instead of 6 months and 9 months, it's 24 months and 36 months. You may need a transition plan. You may need a staff rotation plan to roll team members on and off the project to ensure that your team is always fresh and always ready to work in the project. Another component as you're working on your staffing plan, you need to ensure as team members join your project that you are giving them the authority they need to deliver on the project. If they need to meet with senior management, you need to ensure you have notified senior management in the business area that an analyst will be meeting with them, and that it's important that they take the time needed to ensure that this analyst has a full understanding of what their business requirements are going to be. You need to ensure your team member has the skills, or that you are providing additional training to ensure they have the skills to be able to effectively deliver the role. If you're sending an analyst into an organization, into the business organization, you need to ensure they have an understanding. They're not business experts, but if they're going into the warehouse department to talk about warehousing, they need to understand what inventory and turns and various warehousing management terms are going to be. Or if they're going into the finance department, they need to understand what a general ledger and what debits and credits and so forth are. So again, they're not business experts, but they go in with enough skills that they're not asking rudimentary questions that say, well, I don't understand what a general ledger is. Ensure they have the authority, that you've paved the way, that they can go in and effectively do their job, that they have the skills, and that they have the resources they need to get the job done, that they have access to the systems, that they have access to the buildings, that they have access to the overall environment to allow them to effectively deliver on their project. An example of a project I worked on once where we didn't have the appropriate authority / resources to work on the project. We were working on a project on the customer site. The team member needed to come in to work on a Sunday to get access to specific information that wasn't available through the week because it was in a production mode. We made arrangements, we thought, for the team member to come in and work on a Sunday afternoon to get the information that they needed. She arrived at the customer's door. The door was locked. Obviously, it was Sunday. There was supposed to be a security guard there. The security guard was not at their post. So she waited. She waited 5 minutes. She waited 10 minutes. She waited 15 minutes. And the security guard wasn't returning to the post to let her in. She was getting frustrated. She stood at the door and very gently, at least this is her explanation, very gently, through frustration, stomped her feet, kicked her foot back, and the heel of her boot hit the glass door to the organization, and the glass door shattered. Now, her statement is she kicked very gently. One has to question that, but she didn't have the resources. She didn't have access to the building, and in her frustration of coming in on a Sunday to try to get the job done, she stood outside in the cold for 15 minutes, and in frustration, gently tapped the door, and the door shattered. Of course, alarms went off, and the police were called to the building, and all kinds of problems happened. Needless to say, the team member never did get the job done that she needed to get done that Sunday afternoon, and we went through a significant challenge, paving the way. My company ended up having to pay to replace the glass door, and so on. So as you're developing your staffing plan, ensure that you're putting processes in place so that when team members join your project, they have the authority, they're introduced, they have the information that they need, they have the skills, or you're providing the additional skills required to allow them to be effective on the project team, and that they have the resources. They have access to the building, they have access to the equipment, they have access to the information that they need to effectively do their job. The next step in the human resource management process is to acquire the team, to work with the human resources department to staff the project, to ensure that the who, the what, the how many, the when are satisfied to adjust to accommodate for your project requirements. If there's an unlimited supply of resources in your organization, which is typically never the case, acquiring the project team, staffing the project will stop at that. You defined you needed 3 analysts starting on this date, and they're available with the right skill sets. More times than not, there is an element of matching availability of resources within your organization to the plan, an understanding that there will be trade-offs, that in order to get this analyst with these skills, they need to join the project early, or in order to get the analyst with these skills, they need to join the project a little later. You need to be prepared to replan. So if in working with human resources, to get the analysts that you want, they need to join the project late, you don't simply say, okay, well, that's the best we're going to get. I'll accept that and deliver my project realizing that I don't have the right staffing complement. If that's the case, if you're getting the team members late, don't simply accept it, gladly take the analyst, but be prepared to replan. As a result of staffing challenges, the project is now not going to deliver on month 3. The project is now going to deliver on month 3 plus 1 week. As a result of staffing challenges, as a result of matching availability of resources within your organization to your ideal project plan, there have been some staffing shortfalls. You've developed a new plan. Don't accept it. Develop a new plan and notify senior management, notify the sponsor that says the project is now going to be delayed. As a result of staffing shortfalls, the project has to be delayed by 1 week. Options are accept this. Options are go out to the marketplace and hire a new resource, provided the resource can be hired in the time frame required by your project. Go out to the marketplace and hire a temporary resource, a consultant, possibly paying a higher per diem rate to ensure the project delivers. So don't just accept staffing shortfalls. Replan, define the consequences, and then work with senior management, work with your project acceptor to find out what the right solution is going to be. Accept the delay, hire more people, bring in external consultant staff, but replan. Once the project is in place, once the team is in place and the project is underway, it's important that you develop the team, that you work with the team to take them through the normal team building processes of forming, norming, storming, and finally reaching the ultimate performing stage. You need to ensure that you're providing the appropriate training your team requires to be effective on the project. You need to motivate the team. You need to do conflict management. You need to do problem management. You need to work consistently with the team throughout the entire delivery stage for the project to ensure the team has what they need to be effective. This is where to thine own self be true comes into play. You need to find a method that works within your personality type that allows you to deal with the motivational, the conflict management, the problem solving, the issues resolution with your project team. And you're going to have team building, team conflict problems. You're going to have team members who come to you and say, I can't sit next to him. He goes to the gym every morning and doesn't seem to take a shower when he's done, and I find it offensive to sit there. Other team members are going to come to you and says, I can't sit next to her. She spends too much time on the phone with her stockbroker, and it creates too much noise, and I simply can't work there. Other team members are going to come to you and say, I can't sit next to him or her. We used to date, and now we've broken up, and I can't stand the sight of that individual. You're going to have all kinds of issues that you need to work with. You need to develop the team. You need to work with the team. You need to apply your soft skills within the format, within the principle, within the confines of your own personality type to ensure that you're developing the team, that you're working through the team building process of forming, of norming, of storming and performing to get to that ultimate goal of performing where your team is working effectively. As you're working through developing the project team, you as a project manager have significant power. You absolutely have formal power. You have been identified as the project manager. You are the individual the organization trusts to deliver the project. You have the power of the project manager to insist, to work with the team, to ensure the team performs to project specifications. You probably have reward power. You have the ability to say, if you do this well, I can do what is within my power to get you a bonus. Or if you do this well, I will write a favorable performance review for you at the end of the project. The opposite to that is penalty. If you don't do this well, I will have you fired, worst case scenario. Or if this doesn't work out well, I'm afraid it's not going to look very favorable for you on your performance review that I'm going to write at the end of this project. You most likely have a degree of expert power. You are the more experienced, you are the senior member on the project team. You've been there, you've done that, you've got the t-shirt, so to speak. You have expert power. People should come to you on the project team to seek your expertise, to seek your opinion on how the project can be delivered more successfully. And because you have been identified as the project manager for the project, you have referent power. This project is being done for the Executive Vice President of Marketing. Therefore, this needs to happen. So be aware of your power structures that you have as a project manager and use them appropriately. The most effective power structures that you can use as a project manager are the reward and the expert. If you want to think of it, these are the carrots. You have reward power if you do a good job. I can make life good for you. If you come to me, I will give you my expertise. I will help you improve. The ones you want to avoid are the penalties. Avoid using penalty. It is not a motivator. It is an absolute demotivator. And using your penalty power is the worst form of project management that you can, and should be used only in a last effort, only when all other processes, you do this because you're on my project, you do this because I'll help you out, you do this because I can help you improve your career, you do this because it's for the vice president. Only on last case scenario should you be working on the penalty approach that says do this or else. As you're working through developing the team, you need to be aware of motivational strategies and personality types for your team member. The same as we discussed at the beginning of this nugget, you need to be aware of your personality type, whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, a thinker, a director, etc. You need to be aware of the various personality types for your project team. There's many different motivational theories, Maslow and Hertzberg, theory X, theory Y. There are just as many different personality typings of introverts, extroverts, ISTJs, INTJs, thinkers, directors, etc., etc. You don't need to be focused on, I am applying the Hertzberg theory or I am applying the XYZ personality typing. You simply need to be aware of different people on your project teams are going to be motivated and respond to different styles of motivational processes. This was really driven home for me a few years ago when I participated in a course on motivation, and we were given the usual motivational tests where we went through and typed ourselves into 4 different categories. And that's pretty normal. I've been through lots of courses. I'm sure you've been through just as many courses where you've determined your personality type of introvert, extrovert, and so on. Where this course took it to one level more than that, that really drove the different motivational strategies home for me, is once we had done our personality typing, we were told to divide into 4 groups, with each group being a personality type. So again, for simplicity, let's say all the introverts went into one group and all of the extroverts went into another group. And then we were given a single challenge. You have been personally responsible for succeeding, for ensuring project success. Through your personal heroics, a doomed project has been turned around and is now a successful project. Find the appropriate reward, find the appropriate recognition strategy that will work for you to ensure your ongoing motivation for the project. And again, we were divided into 4 groups, each with like people in the group. The first thing that surprised me was the absolute speed with which each group came up with the answer to the question. It was almost immediate. There was absolute group consensus. Why was it group consensus? Because we were all like personality types. So there was no discussion, well, this would work for me, this would work for me. Everybody was motivated by the same thing. And then secondly, we were asked to present the results. And that was just as startling. First, the introverts were asked to stand up, which is obviously hard for the introverts to begin with, and said, what would motivate you? You have been personally responsible for bringing a project from the brink of doom to total success. What would motivate you? What would ensure that you continue to be a contributing member to the project? And the introvert said, don't do a thing. Don't embarrass us. We know we did it. That's where we get our power from, is internally. We know we were the reason for success. So let's just drop it and carry on, and that would make me very happy. Or if you insist on some form of public recognition, send out an email. Put a paragraph at the bottom of the company newsletter, but don't make a big deal of it. Please don't embarrass me. Please don't make me accept public recognition for this fact. I don't want to be on the stage. And then immediately after that, they asked the extroverts to present their solution. And the answer was absolute opposite. The introvert said, don't put me on the stage. The extrovert's answer was, throw a party. Put my name on a big banner. Put me on the stage. Let everybody see me. Let everybody recognize that I did a good job. This is a true motivator for me. So be aware of this. Be aware that different personality types are going to be responding to, are going to be motivated by different motivational strategies. A similar example, one of my sons was a soccer player recently, summer soccer, house league soccer, no big deal. He's not a great soccer player, but he's an average soccer player. And this particular year, my son had a relatively good year and really caught the coach's eye. The coach really was very impressed with my son's play. So at the end of the year, when they were handing out the obligatory ribbons for every team member, as the coach was handing out the team members, the coach said, here is Max. Max did a terrific job this year. Max, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And as my son, who is the world's most perfect textbook example of an introvert, had to walk the 10 steps from where the team was gathered across the field to the coach, you could see his whole body language changing. He started off with a smile on his face. He was going to get his ribbon, but as the coach started to heap the praise in this public forum on my son, his steps shortened, his head dropped, his shoulders dropped, and he would have done anything to avoid having to take those extra steps across the field to get his ribbon as the coach continued to gush and go on about his performance. The introvert was embarrassed. The introvert didn't want the public recognition. The introvert would have more preferred to disappear into the grass than to have to stand there and be, in his opinion, humiliated by what the coach was trying to do was motivate him to recognize him for terrific performance. Understand motivation. Understand that different people on your project team are going to be motivated by different things. And now the worst part to that, recognize that what motivates one individual may demotivate the other team. Let's go back to our original example. You were personally responsible for project success. You are an introvert. The project manager recognizes that and doesn't make a big deal of it. Publicly makes no recognition, privately says, thank you, you did a great job, I really appreciate that. You go away very happy, you go away motivated, says, yes, somebody who appreciates me. This guy I like working for, or this gal I like working for. But on the other side of the fence, you have 3 extroverts on the project team who are becoming very disgruntled. They're not even involved, but they're becoming very disgruntled, saying, look at that. I know that individual worked above and beyond the call of duty. They need some public recognition. If this is all we're going to get, if I work hard and I contribute to the project like that and no one's going to congratulate me, it's not worthwhile. I guess I'm going to stop trying to do a good job. So here you have some extroverts who are not even involved, who have nothing to do with this particular scenario, suddenly becoming demotivated because you, the project manager, adopted a motivation strategy for the introvert that motivated the introvert. By accident, you are demotivating the extroverts. So again, be aware of the fact that what you're doing for the team member in question may in fact backfire on you and may demotivate other team members. So that goes back to, yes, if you must do some form of public recognition for me, put my name in an email, do something so that at least the extroverts can appreciate that, hey, I did get recognition. May not be as elaborate and as glowing as they would have liked to have seen, but at least they're seeing there is some form of recognition. To thine own self be true. Ensure that you can find a process that works within your own personality type that will recognize and allow you to work with the project team to create an effective and motivated project team. The final step of the human resource process is managing the team. Working with the team, reviewing the team, evaluating the team, and ensuring that the team is performing at peak performance, that the team is completing their work on time, that the team is completing their work according to the specifications as defined in the scope and according to the specifications as defined in the quality process, ensuring that the team is performing effectively. A key component you have in that is the completion of performance reviews. Ensure that all team members are aware of the fact that you will be completing performance reviews, evaluating the performance on the project, and that you will be producing these performance reviews, and the performance reviews will be put into their employee file and therefore reviewed and considered as part of overall career progression in the organization and reviewed and considered as part of salary administration. It's your job as the project manager to ensure that the team is aware that they must perform effectively, that they're being measured by their performance through the performance review process, and that you, the project manager, are responsible for their performance, and you will be working to ensure that they do perform effectively. A tool that I have found very effective to ensure effective performance is a 360-degree review. This ensures that the team member is reviewed by you, the project manager, as well as their peers, as well as subordinates, ensuring that all aspects of the performance is reviewed and evaluated, ensuring that they are literally under the microscope at all times in the project, as opposed to only times when they believe that you, the project manager, are observing them, or only when times that they believe that you, the project manager, have a way of measuring them. One final consideration for the human resource management process is managing of virtual teams. Managing virtual teams is becoming more and more common in business today. Our teams are being distributed throughout cities, throughout our country, and oftentimes throughout the world. It's your job as the project manager to ensure that you have the processes in place, that you have defined the processes and procedures to ensure effective communications, effective human resource management, and in effect, effective project delivery using a virtual team. Because the teams are virtual, there may be never a time where they get together to truly establish team norms. It's critical that you define the rules for project integration. It's critical that you define the rules for how the team members will interact with each other, and that it's critical that you define the rules to ensure that your virtual team can work effectively. I've worked in virtual teams now for the last 5 years, and some of the rules that we establish are very common sense rules, but critical to making sure the virtual teams work effectively. Rules such as voicemails or voicemail messages must be updated daily. Your voicemail message must say, "Hi, this is Steve. This is Tuesday, April the 9th, or whatever the date may be. I am in the office today, but will be in meetings for most of the morning. Please leave a message and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can." That way, team members from the other side of the country or the other side of the world, when they call to contact me, understand that there's a 4-hour window when I won't be returning their message and can adjust their expectations for a response accordingly. Other norms are voicemail messages must be returned immediately upon receipt. So as soon as you get back to your desk, the first thing you have to do is check your voicemail log and return all messages to ensure other team members, wherever they are in the world, get their questions answered and can get on with doing their project assignments. Other rules are instant messenger. I'm a huge proponent of instant messaging. We use instant messaging on my team. And again, rules are, if you receive an instant message from a team member, you respond immediately. Or again, if you're not at your desk available to respond to an instant message, or you truly do not wish to be disturbed, change your status so that team members can understand when you will be available, how long you will be gone for, and again, manage their expectations of when and how they will receive responses back from you. It's important to ensure that all team members adhere to the rules. Doesn't matter how busy they are, doesn't matter how driven they are by a specific project deadline, they need to adhere to the rules. They need to ensure that other team members can get the same response that they would get if they were sitting next door. So again, define the rules, make sure you have the processes in place to make the virtual teams work, and then adhere to the rules. It's your job as the project manager to make it work. You have to be committed to working in a virtual team. You have to do everything in your power to ensure that you work effectively in a virtual team, and therefore when the message goes down through the project that the project manager is making the virtual team work, they will be more incented, they will be more inclined, and they will be more committed to making the virtual team work. And virtual teams can work. As I say, I've been working exclusively in a virtual team for the last 5 years. We typically get together at most once a year face-to-face, and the rest of the time we're scattered throughout North America, and we communicate effectively via email, instant message, and voice, as required and as appropriate for our needs, our information requirements. It can work, but you need to be committed. You have to want to make it work, and it can work. This concludes our nugget on Project Human Resource Management. In this nugget, we looked at the human resource planning process, understanding the requirements, understanding how the human resources are going to work, understanding what your human resource requirements are going to be, and probably most important,